and welcome to All About Community. My name is Robert L. Harris, and I am your host. I am so delighted to have as my guest today Loren Taylor. Loren is a former city councilman right here in the city of Oakland. Welcome back to All About Community, Loren.
Thanks, Bob. Great to be back here. Excited to rejoin you.
Yeah, a lot has happened since you were last here. I guess since you were last here, you ran for mayor. You were not successful in that venture, but this is a new day, new opportunity, a new time. So let's talk about the city of Oakland. What's your perception of what's going on now during the last 4 months here?
Well, absolutely right. Unfortunately, was not successful with becoming mayor, and elections have consequences. And so
they do have consequences.
So we are seeing some of those consequences of electing someone who may not have quite been ready for the role. We've got, a number of things from the firing of the police chief, which we saw our community come out.
That was a big issue, the firing of the police chief. How do you think that was handled?
When I see what occurred, it was a very quick, not community-informed decision to put him on leave, and doing it publicly with huge, I will say, press media coverage around a questionable report from the Federal Monitor. I think that set things in motion that led to ultimately his firing, and that was not in the best interest of our city. And so we are seeing some of the after effects of that.
Now, looking at other aspects of what's going on in the city now under the new leadership, I have no idea where the advice is coming from, but do you believe the new mayor is getting good advice, excellent advice, or no advice at all?
Well, as you know, you are as good as a leader as the people you surround yourself with, and I believe that we are seeing some gaps in, I will say, the advice and the decision making that's coming. I think when you look at what we need in terms of leadership in Oakland, we need someone who's connected to community. We need someone who is putting in the thoughtful work around solutions that last, and we need someone who's going to show up. I think we're starting to see some learning, some evolution, and hopefully we get, I will say, more of the leadership we need. But so far, I've been disappointed, and I think a lot of the city has as well.
Okay, now, a couple of days ago, the proposed budget came out. Let's talk about the proposed budget because it has some serious implications. Let's start with the public safety. Any thoughts about the public safety? I believe it calls for some slight reduction in the police force. Is that correct?
It does call for a reduction. I think maybe taking a step back, I have to acknowledge that we're in a difficult situation. $360 million deficit over 2 years. This is a structural deficit that needs to be made up. And so I don't want to sort of appreciate the gravity of the situation. At the same time, we've got to make some tough decisions. We can't simply just kick the can down the road relying on one-time investments to sustain a few things. And we also have to prioritize where we're putting our dollars. If we know public safety is a number one concern, we cannot afford to draw down on the resources necessary to keep the community safe. That's foundational for the economic development that we're hoping to see, the job creation, for attracting new businesses, residents, tourists, and others who are going to spend their money here. That's critical. And there are a number of other investments that I think we need that grow the city. We have to look at how we grow the revenue, how we create jobs, how we create more opportunity, as opposed to simply playing this zero-sum game around balancing expenses.
Now, you talk about a structural deficit. Could you define for our viewers what that is? What is a structural deficit?
A structural deficit is when you have the revenues and the expenses projected for the city, where the revenues are always, for the foreseeable future, coming below the projected expenses. And that structure is not sustainable as a city when you talk about a balanced budget. You can correct it in a given year because of some one-time funding maybe federal grants, other things that you get, but it's not sustainable for the long term. And that's unfortunately what we're dealing with. And we've got to have real hard decisions and tough choices as to how we get out of this imbalance and correct so that our city can be sustainable, thrive moving forward.
Now, are there other areas of the budget that intrigue you or that you like to comment on, especially since it's going to have an impact on all of us here in the city of Oakland?
Oh, absolutely. I will say that there's some intriguing promises around merging departments.
Yeah.
So when you
How
look
would
at
that work?
Yeah, so when you look at what's proposed, there's an Office of Children Family Services where you're combining human services, where you're combining the Head Start programs, Parks and Rec programming. And this is something that I think there was universal support from the council back when I was on it to move this direction. There's also a proposed merger of our homelessness services with our housing and community development. That makes sense because you can't solve homelessness without housing. And as you build more housing, you're hoping to impact the homelessness. So that theoretically makes sense. And when we talk about merging departments, it's one thing to theoretically talk about something, but really it's in implementation. As a management consultant, I've worked in several mergers, integrations, acquisitions, where you're pulling things together.
So this is your area of expertise. We're going to have to go to break, so don't touch that remote. We will be right back with All About Community. And when we come back, we will continue our discussion of the proposed budget for the city of Oakland. Again, my name is Robert L. Harris. I am your host, and my guest is Loren Taylor, former city councilman, District 6, right here in the city of Oakland. We will be right back.
Are you looking for LED video walls, pro audio, lighting, or Hammond organ service?
The world can be yours. Our goal at OtterPro Consultants is to provide effective solutions designed to boost your business for the global market. It doesn't matter how large or small your company is. Let us tailor a quality system to fit your business needs to assure your company has a competitive edge in the global market. With our 100% success rate, we guarantee we can make it happen for you.
Hello and welcome back to All About Community. Again, my name is Robert L. Harris. I am your host and my guest is Loren Taylor, former city council person right here in the city of Oakland. Loren, when we went to break, we were talking about structural deficit, etc. Let's go a little further. Does the budget send a message to what your priorities are in the city of Oakland? And if so, what message is this budget sending?
Budgets absolutely reflect the values and priorities that you have as leadership. And in terms of moving the city forward, I think the high-level headlines when it was announced by Mayor Tao was that we are saving jobs. We're not losing any jobs. We are going to continue to address this deficit without making any of I will say, those tough choices that other administrations have made when it comes to drawing down, reducing some of the staff in some area or shifting. I think that's clearly a statement of what the values are. The reduction of police force in terms of freezing positions and reducing the
What
headcount
impact
down.
is that likely to have realistically on what's going on in Oakland in terms of public safety? But public safety is a real issue in the city of Oakland. I don't care what anybody says because it is perceived as such, and therefore it is.
Absolutely. You're only as strong as your brand. And I will say that it's not just a perception, but there are some very clear realities that we have when it comes to public safety and the challenges. If people are calling for 911 and not getting any response.
And
giving
they
up.
are, and they're not getting responses?
Absolutely. We look at those who are not going downtown. I just talked to parents.
Yes, indeed.
I just
Talk about that.
I just talked to parents at my kid's school,
Mm-hmm.
and they have said that they no longer go out in Oakland. They instead go to Dublin, Pleasanton, Walnut Creek, Emeryville, even other places, because they're afraid of their car getting sort of bipped.
And that's a reality.
That
that's
is a reality.
Real reality.
That's a frequent reality. They're afraid of the violence that we've seen happening sporadically and erratically without any kind of order, and just a general sense of lawlessness. So that is real. And the way to get on top of that is not to reduce the number of police officers that we have available to respond, available to investigate these crimes.
Well, why is the budget being proposed to reduce rather than maybe increase?
Well, I think clearly there are priorities that have been made, choices made by the administration that we can afford, or there's a belief that we can afford to reduce police, and these other investments will are more important and do better for our city. I am not in agreement with that. I think that we do need to have a strong presence of officers to respond, while we are also investing in these other solutions to improve quality of life within our
What should
city.
the city council do when they receive, well, they already received it, when they review this budget and have public hearings on it or whatever? What should they do? It's a difficult decision, but what should the council do?
Well, what I'll say is that I'm still studying the line item details of the budget, so I'm not going to give you that level of granularity at this point. But we've got to focus on the principles of safety, priorities of growth. We need to be able to make investments now that will ensure the long-term growth, viability of our city, job creation, creating greater tax bases and revenue so that we can change that structural deficit that we were talking about earlier and have more revenues to invest in our community, in our residents, and the quality of life.
Well, how are we going to grow jobs in Oakland when you got this type of a situation where crime seems to be just controlling everything?
Well, you're absolutely right. We've got to be able to work with businesses. The number one way you grow jobs is you support your businesses so that they can hire more people. And
but
so,
most businesses feel as though that they're being abandoned when there's nobody. They open a business and then somebody immediately breaks into it.
Right. And that gets to another, I will say, concern that I have with the budget as it's proposed is it's taking the economic development department, whose job is to work with these businesses and actually give them the support that they need so that they aren't feeling like they're alone. And it's taking that group and integrating it into the building and planning department. And when you take two groups, you're going to, if you don't manage it well, you're going to cannibalize the activity of the other. And I'm afraid that because you have this large building and planning group and a smaller, less well-invested economic development group, you're going to cut our economic development, our growth, our business support off even more so than it has been to date. And that I think is a real concern. So we have to make sure that we keep eyes on how we grow our economy and not just focused on these other elements that have been lifted up by the mayor's budget.
So you think the merging of those two departments was not a good decision?
I don't think that that's a good decision. I've talked to other cities who have had and experimented with an economic development department as part of this larger building and planning group. And they have identified the fact that there's that conflict. And usually it's the building and planning process that wins because that's where you have developers that are trying to get permits through and process. And so that consumes the resources and you end up with this reactionary economic group that's only responding to loud business voices when there's an issue, but not actually growing and creating new value, which is what we need here in Oakland.
Growing and creating new value is what we need here in the city of Oakland. Don't touch that remote. We're going to have to go to break, so we will be right back with All About Community. Again, my name is Robert L. Harris. I am your host, And my guest is Loren Taylor, former city council person right here in the city of Oakland. We will be right back.
Are you looking for LED video walls, pro audio, lighting, or Hammond organ service?
The world can be yours. Our goal at OtterPro Consultants is to provide effective solutions designed to boost your business for the global market. It doesn't matter how large or small your company is. Let us tailor a quality system to fit your business needs to assure your company has a competitive edge in the global market. With our 100% success rate, we guarantee we can make it happen for you.
Hello, welcome back to All About Community. I certainly wish I had more time to spend on the budget, but we have to deal with a few other areas while I have former City Councilman Loren Taylor here with me. Let's talk about potholes and blight. I mean, potholes sends a strong message about your city, and blight, dumping, I mean, that sends an even greater message. Now, let's talk about that. What's going on here?
Yeah, unfortunately, we all are too familiar with the obstacle course of dodging the Swiss cheese holes of potholes across our streets. But that is core, foundational. The infrastructure of our city has to be well maintained. Now, fortunately, we have, as voters, supported Measure KK and now Measure U, which creates dedicated, restricted funding for addressing infrastructure. So potholes, paving, repaving, and so
are the funds being used for that purpose? Because I had heard a rumor that they weren't.
So they are restricted. It is legislated how they can be used.
Two different issues. They're restricted, but are they being used?
Very true. Well, part of it's you can't just create the budget. You got to be able to actually implement it and create the value and do those jobs and roles. And you know that we can't do the work without the bodies in the ground, bodies on the ground. And so human resources is a critical thing, making sure that we're staffing up appropriately, making sure that, unfortunately, as we're freezing positions, that can also detract. And we've got to be able to improve the efficiency of HR so that it doesn't take a year for somebody to get hired after they apply. And so those are all things that need to be worked on in the city. But the good thing is we have the funding. Now it's about the implementation and execution, and that should be what we as residents hold our leaders accountable to.
Okay, what about blight and dumping right here in the city of Oakland? I have never seen such dumping as I've seen in the last couple of years or so. What's going on? As Marvin Gaye would say, what's going on?
Are you going to sing for us?
Not really.
All good. When it comes to blight and dumping, it is worse than we've seen in decades. And what it is we've got to get on top of it in terms of the eradication, the cleaning up, but we also have to create a culture, promote a culture of actually cleaning and maintaining our city and not dumping. And we have to hold folks accountable when they do with penalties. Dumping is not a crime of poverty or poor circumstance. We have resources, ways that you can get rid of your bulky items, your small items, everything in terms of free dump days, free bulky pickups. We're putting more litter receptacles out. And so we've got to hold people accountable to treating Oakland the way it deserves to be treated.
I understand that a lot of people come in from outside of the city of Oakland and dump in Oakland because they know they can dump free.
Unfortunately, we have examples of that, and we have examples of Oaklanders doing that as well. And so we've got to be able to enforce so that folks don't get away with dumping for free here in Oakland. And we've got to educate and give people the tools, the resources, and know where they can go to dispose of these items cheaply, affordably, and conveniently.
Yeah, but what about cameras? Don't you think you ought to have more cameras in the city of Oakland? I know the argument against cameras about it infringes on somebody's right of privacy, which is a bunch of malarkey.
Well, as you likely know, Bob, I was a proponent of putting cameras in and actually worked to organize and mobilize community members to come out and reinforce that with our privacy commission. While they're trying to safeguard, as you say, the privacy rights, et cetera, they need to understand that we have needs, and these cameras serve a need to help reinforce and instill the community, the cleanliness that we need. So absolutely supportive, and I think we need to move even faster in terms of implementing and putting those solutions in place.
What about the apparent loss of the A's, which just announced they're buying some property in Las Vegas, which may not be what they thought they were buying? But anyway, what's going on with the A's?
Yeah, I think when you sent me some questions in advance, you had framed it, have we gotten played or were we being played?
And yeah, we've been played.
But I think the reality is you can't get played if you're not expecting anything more from the person on the other side of that table. I never expected them to be looking out for our interests. They are self-interested private corporation. You know who you're negotiating with. They're always trying to make deals, play sides against the other. We need to come into the table in any negotiation understanding that and looking out for our own interests. And that's what I believe that we fell short on, is that while they were pursuing parallel paths with the Vegas and, Oregon and us as well, we should have been pursuing parallel paths. We should have been focused on what other developers might want to come and build out Howard Terminal.
Do you think
that
you think it's all over with the A's in essence?
It's never over until the fat lady sings, right? Until it's over, right? I will say my best guess is that John Fisher is not long for Oakland. So either the A's leave with him or he leaves without the A's. But I'm not optimistic that John Fisher, as owner of the A's, will remain in Oakland.
So that means that it opens up opportunities in Howard Terminal.
They've always been open. We've got the funding, the entitlement. We've got a lot that's already underway there. And I'm sure there are a lot of folks who see the value in investing in Oakland, or at least it's our job to help them see that value.
So we should not be terribly concerned because of the fact that A's have decided to play us and move to Las Vegas. Is that right?
I rest on the fact that Oakland has incredible value, and one partner doesn't make or break who we are as a city. And so my focus is, and as a leader outside of City Hall, my focus is making sure that we appreciate the value that we bring and build that out to get maximum benefit for Oaklanders.
And let's remember that Oakland has incredible value. We've got to go to break, so don't touch that remote. We will be right back with All About Community. Again, my name is Robert L. Harris. I am your host, and my guest is Loren Taylor, former city councilman, right here in the city of Oakland.
Are you looking for LED video walls, pro audio, lighting, or Hammond organ service?
The world can be yours. Our goal at OtterPro Consultants is to provide effective solutions designed to boost your business for the global market. It doesn't matter how large or small your company is. Let us tailor a quality system to fit your business needs to assure your company has a competitive edge in the global market. With our 100% success rate, we guarantee we can make it happen for you.
Hello and welcome back to All About Community. Again, my name is Robert L. Harris. I am your host, and my guest is Loren Taylor, former city council person right here in the city of Oakland. Loren, I know our time is running out quickly, but I am disturbed about side shows, which I think is just absolutely ridiculous and actually criminal in my viewpoint. What can we do about side shows? Why do we tolerate them?
We shouldn't be tolerating them. First of all, we need to get on top of them before they start with strong, I will say, intelligence gathering, going online, having officers do that research so that we can disrupt them before they begin. Second of all, once they do start, we have to be able to show that we have an ability to get on top of them, control them, keep them from getting out of hand. And we also have to show that, we are going to hold folks accountable. Councilmember Gallo is bringing forward legislation he brought forward legislation last year in order to hold the organizers and the promoters of these events accountable for doing so and creating this havoc within our communities. I supported that. Unfortunately, other council members, they kicked the can down the road so that they didn't have to make a tough decision on how we would do that. It's coming back up today, in fact, so early May, and we are hoping.
Well, let's pray that the city council will do the right thing and hold these people who do these sideshows accountable.
Absolutely.
Can you look in that camera and tell us in a minute or less, what do you think Oakland needs, the kind of leadership it needs in order to thrive?
First of all, I will say that leadership does not only exist within City Hall. So I encourage everybody who's listening, everybody who cares about our city, to take your active role helping to lead our city through the challenges that we face from whatever your vantage point is. We need strong leaders who are connected to community, who prioritize Oakland and the benefits for Oaklanders above their own self-interest, above the interests of outsiders who may be well-funded and supporting their careers. We need folks who are going to do the hard work in really understanding the issues and coming up with solutions that last and continuing to implement those consistently day in and day out. That's the type of leader that I'm expecting, that I'm holding our elected officials and others accountable, and that's what I would expect to be held accountable to myself as well.
Any future plans for political office? I know it's a bit early, but in 10 seconds or less, can you tell us any future plan?
As a kid from Oakland, I'm committed to the town. We got a lot of work to do, and I stand ready to serve when the opportunity comes up. For now, I'm doing my management consulting business, lifting that up, serving mission-driven organizations that are helping to improve quality of life here in Oakland and across the country, and helping them from strategy through execution, custom-tailored solutions. And
it sounds as though that you're leaving that open for the future as to whether or not you may run again for some public office. We have run out of time. I'm sorry about that, but don't touch that remote. We will be right back with our next segment, which will be April Lampkin, President, Hayward Tri-City chapter of Delta Sigma alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. You've heard of that, haven't you?
Incorporated, absolutely.
As
a Phi Beta Sigma brother myself, a lot of love for the Divine Nine.
All right. So don't touch that remote. We will be right back. Again, my name is Robert L. Harris. I am your host, and my guest has been Loren Taylor, former city councilman, right here in the city of Oakland. Talk to you later. Bye.
Are you looking for LED video walls, pro audio, lighting, or Hammond organ service?
The world can be yours. Our goal at Otter Pro Consultants is to provide effective solutions designed to boost your business for the global market. It doesn't matter how large or small your company is. Let us tailor a quality system to fit your business needs to assure your company has a competitive edge in the global market. With our 100% success rate, we guarantee we can make it happen for you.
Hello and welcome back to All About Community. Again, my name is Robert L. Harris. I am your host. And when we went to break, I told you that my next guest would be April Lampkin, who is the president of the Hayward Tri-City Alumni alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. All right, I love those deltas.
Okay.
And the AKAs.
All right.
And all of them.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Let's talk a little bit about your personal background. Where did you go to college?
I attended California State University in Fresno, California. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Management Information Systems.
And what do you do with that?
Currently, I work at Wells Fargo in digital and innovative technology. So
Wells
I am
Fargo.
Yes,
I have a
Wells
daughter
Fargo.
that works at Wells Fargo.
Yes, I've been there. I've been there since 2017, and prior to that, I worked in high tech for a number of years, for probably about 35 years. I started when I was 5, so I've been using my skills that I learned in college my entire career. So I'm very thankful that I was able to get some marketable skills.
And where did you pledge Delta?
I became a Delta. I was initiated at Fresno State University Xi Chi chapter. Xi Chi, shout out to Xi Chi Cutie Pies. Spring of 1990.
Xi Chi
Cutie Pies. Yes, that's what they call us.
Come on now.
Yes, so we are sisterhood built on scholarship and service, and it was just a wonderful college to be able to be a part of, because collegiate life can be difficult, but when you find like-minded individuals, it makes it a little bit better.
Now, let's talk for a moment about the history of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, which was founded, if I remember correctly, in 1913.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
at Howard University.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about the founding of Delta Sigma Theta sorority.
Delta Sigma Theta was founded in a time when women weren't recognized for their full potential. And so our founders were actually part of another sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha, and they decided to have a different impact as to what the goals and objectives of that sorority. So they formed Delta Sigma Theta on the campus of Howard University. 22 college women with like-minded goals decided that they wanted to do something different. And so our sorority is built around public service and making a difference. And in fact, one of the first acts of the sorority, once being formed, was marching in the suffrage march.
And what does that mean, marching in the suffrage?
So they were active. They joined in with, white women to give us the right to vote.
Right to vote.
When they didn't have rights anyway, black or white, women couldn't vote, but Black people still had to fight for everything they had to, needed to get during that time. And so this was the first act of public service and social action that our sorority did, was the suffrage march. And
your sorority is part of what is known as the Divine Nine.
Yes, Divine Nine. Yes, we are a part of the Divine Nine, which is a wonderful organization. And I think what sets us apart as the Divine Nine, and we've gotten a lot of publicity since, our Vice President, Kamala Harris, is a AKA. We have a lot of Deltas that are part of Congress, part of the House of Representatives, senators, very prominent Deltas that are there making a difference. But what sets us apart is that we have graduate chapters. Even though,
and we're going to get into
I'm just saying,
graduate
but
chapters.
It's a good thing, because even though if you do public service in your collegiate chapter or university, you can transfer that over to the graduate, so it's ongoing.
And our Vice President, Kamala Harris, was also a Kappa sweetheart.
Okay.
You didn't know that, did you?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I know a little bit about Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity.
Okay.
I served as its grand pole mark.
Okay,
and
wonderful.
that was a few years ago, but it was a really exciting time in my life as the grand pole mark with all these alumni. We call them alumni chapters and undergraduate chapters, and a lot of crazy undergraduates. But they have reformed over the years.
I've gotten better.
Now let's talk a little bit about your local chapter, Hayward Tri-Cities. How was that formed?
So I am a member. Actually, I'm the president of the Hayward Tri-City Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority.
And how long have you been president?
I have been. This is my 3rd year. I'm coming up on.
You gonna be president for life or something?
No. This is my 2nd term. So this is the first.
Are
year.
there term limits?
Yes. So every 2 years we elect new officers, and so I've completed my first term of 2 years, and so I'm ending my first year of my 2nd term. So next year will be my last term as president, and then we will elect new officers.
And it's you call it the Tri-Cities. What cities are involved?
So the service areas that we serve, Hayward, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Tri-City would be Fremont, Newark, and Union City. But we do also service Dublin, Pleasanton, Castro Valley, some of the other surrounding cities, San Lorenzo, San Leandro, those surrounding areas.
So
But,
people who have a choice. They can
yeah,
decide to connect up with your
yes,
chapter.
yes. And so as president, one of my goals for my term was to not only make an impact in Hayward, but also to reach out to the legislators in those other areas, such as Fremont. Actually, one of our sorors is active on city council in Hayward. We have sorors that are active in legislation in Union City. We do a lot of work in Newark. We're trying to not only just focus on Hayward, but also cover those surrounding
So you
areas.
do a lot of stuff. And when we come back, we're going to talk about
Okay.
some of the stuff that Delta does on the national level, and then
Okay.
we'll come back to the local level.
Okay.
Don't touch that remote. We will be right back with All About Community. Again, my name is Robert L. Harris. I am your host, and my guest is April Lampkins, who is the president of the Hayward Tri-City Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
That's correct.
Got it.
Yes, thank you.
Are you looking for LED video walls, pro audio, lighting, or Hammond organ service?
The world can be yours. Our goal at Otter Pro Consultants is to provide effective solutions designed to boost your business for the global market. It doesn't matter how large or small your company is. Let us tailor a quality system to fit your business needs to assure your company has a competitive edge in the global market. With our 100% success rate, we guarantee we can make it happen for you.
Hello and welcome back to All About Community. Again, my name is Robert L. Harris. I am your host, and my guest is April Lampkin. April is the president of the Hayward Tri-City Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I said we were going to talk a little bit about nationally what the Deltas do. I believe you have about 5 areas of focus. Let's go through each one quickly here.
Yes. So our
Economic development.
Okay, so our initiatives are given to us by our national headquarters. They have committees. Our national president is my soror, Elsie Cook-Holmes, and so she has a leadership team and committees, and so they develop initiatives under these programmatic thrusts that every chapter is asked to address in their communities. And so they're done nationally. And so under economic development, we have different programs such as financial fortitude. And what those programs help to do is to educate our communities about home ownership, how to, build a trust, savings, retirement, and managing your money. Even in our youth programs, we do things about how to open a checking account, how to save for college, just basic things that sometimes you won't learn just by going to your normal school, public school or whatever. So these programs help us to become more sufficient as a community. And we serve as the Black community. And so it's really to help us become more, be accessible to different things.
What about educational development?
So educational development is a really big one right now because we're dealing with a lot of educational disparities. People aren't getting the same level of education. And so across the board educationally, we want to make.
And Delta has national
Yes,
programs that deal with
absolutely.
that.
National programs. So under educational, we have our youth programs that our gyms, our Delta Academy, our Embody for our young men. And so education really focuses on our youth and their needs within their public schools. And locally on our level, we are actually having conversations with the parents in our districts to see what their concerns are and how we can advocate for them.
What about international awareness and involvement? What is that?
International awareness and involvement is just what it says. It's really, we have schools that have been built in places such as Africa and Haiti and Kenya, places where they don't have, water, sometimes clean water, or places for their children to go to school. And so we have had delegations and past national presidents who have had schools built in their honor to make sure that these children are able to get educational opportunities that they would otherwise not be able to get. And so we have I Can Fly, who is also one of the places that we support, especially our chapter as well, and as a whole nationally, to ensure that the children get the supplies they need to be, good educationally and also mentally.
And what about physical and mental health?
Physical
How
and
does
mental,
that play in?
yeah, physical and mental health is a really big one, especially coming out of COVID. We continue to meet nationally as a sorority, but we also took time to realize that people had real needs physically and mentally. So physically, that deals with just as a people, we have a higher rate of heart failure, heart attacks, and diabetes and high blood pressure. So it's just teaching us how to live a healthier lifestyle, and then mentally how we can cope with aloneness and depression and all of that. And it's okay to get therapy. And so when you combine the two, it's really bringing the community together to do things such as all the way from yoga to other extremes as to getting COVID tests or diabetes tests.
And what about political awareness and involvement?
Now that's a big one. That's social action for us, and that's
okay,
really
that's your
what
social action.
yes. So that's our social action arm, and so social action is really a major thing for our sorority because there's so many things that are going on right now, from voter suppression to HR1 to just all these initiatives that are flying around that we are supporting, the reparations, healthy eating.
I want my reparations.
I want mine too.
Now.
Right. DC statehood. There's just so much that's going on. So at a national level, we get these initiatives during our Delta Days in the nation's capital, and then we filter it down to see what's really needed in our communities at the local
And when
level.
you say service is our heart, what does that mean?
Well, what that means is that to have a heart of service. I'm a church girl, so I think that when you have a heart of service, you want to love others as God has loved us, and so when we serve, that's just an extension of God's love to the community. And so the service that we do, we're not getting paid for it. This is a giving of our time, of ourselves, whether it be for our youth programs, whether it be for giving scholarships, which I know we'll talk about later. But we're all doing it because we want what's best for our community and to help them to grow and thrive. And whatever we can do to advocate for better treatment, better education, better financial status, we're here to do that. And so that's why we have a heart of service.
So community service is an integral part
Absolutely.
of Delta Sigma Theta.
Absolutely. Sisterhood is at our core. It's what holds us together. But public service is what we do, and we have a passion for it. And if we didn't do anything else, we do public service because that's who we are.
Now, can you name some of the more prominent, not everybody's prominent, but more prominent members of Delta Sigma Theta on a national level?
Oh, sure. So Angela Bassett, Andra Day, I don't know, Aretha Franklin.
Aretha Franklin.
I'm a CNN person. I love CNN. And so Abby Phillip is a new soror. She was just his honorary, just inducted, initiated last year. April Ryan, who is also a journalist.
I know April.
And also the past Atlanta mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, Kay Michelle. I mean, we just have so many. Keisha Knight Pulliam from Bill Cosby.
And you got a famous one, Marsha Fudge,
Marsha
former
yes.
national president of Delta Sigma Theta. We got to go to break. Don't touch that remote. Yeah. We will be right back with All About Community. Again, my name is Robert L. Harris, and my guest is April Lampkin.